Oops. Let's go. Delete. Later. Go away. Go away. Go away. Okay. Let's listen to some. Hey guys. Ooh, let's turn that down. It's a little too loud. Okay. Hey guys. Hey everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hi Panmandan. Hey Rachel. Hi Scott. Hey guys. So, hi YouTube. I'm on both TikTok and YouTube, and tonight we're actually going to be talking about something totally different. This is usually a tarot channel. Normally I do tarot readings, but part of my super, fascinated interests, things that make me super excited and fascinated and interested in things, is true crime. So tonight we're actually going to talk about something that I am completely hyper focused on at the moment, which is the Karen Read trial. I live in Rhode Island. So if you're not familiar with the Karen Read trial, we are going to get into it. But Karen Read is a trial that's happening right now in Massachusetts. And it's about an hour away. Hey, Jasmine, welcome. It's about an hour away from where I live. So it caught my attention. And I've always been a crime person that's interested in crime since I was young. I used to read a lot of books about it, even before it was really popular, back before Law and Order even existed on TV. I considered being a forensic analyst and person who would go into forensics. That was something I wanted to do at some point, and I took some courses in college. So it's always been something I'm fascinated with. It's just not my line of work. And I have realized that maybe we could do something on here with this platform to talk about it, but also to look at things for fun, not to actually be this person that's like, oh, this is what happened. I ended up becoming inspired to talk about it on here because there's actually a trial going on right now that is starting. It's a defamation trial of a TikTok psychic who has accused somebody of murder because of their tarot cards. They're claiming that their tarot cards told them all the information that they needed. And I'm a reader. I'm a tarot card. Hey, hi, welcome, user 23223 and on. Hi, Kelly. Hey, guys. So feel free to say hi. I'm just chatting, letting you guys know what's going on tonight. So I decided I was going to do a little theme here that we're going to start probably maybe once a week or once every other week, talking about some true crime stuff on here. And I thought it would be fun to do fun entertainment predictions. I'm not talking about accusing anybody of anything. I'm not talking about actually giving law advice or anything like that, because I'm definitely not going to open myself up for that with the legalities of things. But I thought it would be fun to talk about crime and then somehow tie that in with my readings at some point. But for right now, we're just here talking about the Karen Read trial today. Eventually, I'm going to branch into talking about the TikTok psychic thing. But for the moment, I'm really focused on the Karen Read stuff. So that's what I want to talk about. I'm going to get into a little bit of like background about this for those of you that don't know. Hey, Michelle, and feel free to speak up as well. I am not an expert. I'm not pretending to be an expert. This is just something that I'm interested in. I'm not a legal analyst. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not any kind of professional in that area. It's just something that I like to, I like to watch. And this trial specifically is so fascinating to me for so many reasons. For one, it's really nearby to my actual location, but also some of the details are so crazy. And the more I've been watching it, the more my mind is just like, how is this real life? This is something that would be written for TV or for a movie. This cannot be real life. And this is really what's happening not even an hour away from where I live. The thing that really, really triggered me to want to talk about this online is my local news channel. I live in Rhode Island. Canton, Massachusetts, which is where this all took place, is not even a 1 hour drive from my house, from my area. It's probably a 40-minute drive from my parents' house, who live up further north than me. And so I go over the Massachusetts border all the time. And some of this has to do with Massachusetts State Police. So what's fascinating and disgusting all at the same time is in my local area in Rhode Island. For those of you that don't know Rhode Island, it's one of the smallest states of the United States. We have very few news outlets, local news media. We have 3 channels, a total of 3 local news channels. One is called WJAR 10, which is affiliated with NBC. One is called WPRI 12, which is affiliated with Fox News, or at least it used to be. I'm not sure if it is anymore. And then the other one is ABC 6, which is affiliated with channel ABC, obviously. I stopped watching channel 10. I don't watch the news a lot, but I will watch it, especially for weather. And I stopped watching channel 10 because about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago now, they fired one of the weather people who was amazing. Hey guys, welcome, everybody, say hello. They fired one of the weather women because she had gotten older and because she had gained weight. They literally just fired her because she didn't fit the skinny, tiny, 20-something-year-old prototype that is supposed to be on TV. So I stopped watching Channel 10. It was a huge thing around here. And then I started watching Channel 12, WPRI, which it was my main news outlet, local news outlet that I would watch. What does this have to do with the Karen Read trial? Well, I have been fascinated with Karen Read. Like I said, I've been watching that online streaming daily in between work, gavel to gavel on YouTube, where there are legal analysts that are streaming it. And I'll tell you guys all about the legal analysts that I recommend, that I like, why I like them, how I like them, what they offer, all that. And I've been watching the trial. So I've been keeping up with it. And my local news, WPRI 12, about 3 or 4 days ago now, did a very brief video on YouTube. Well, they must have done it live on their news, because they take clips and then they upload it to their YouTube. But they did like a minute video about one of the witnesses. And we're going to get all into this witness. His name is Trooper John Proctor. We'll talk about it. But what is extremely infuriating and what triggered me to want to come on here and talk about this is he's done some pretty heinous things. I have to be cautious because I don't want to get myself in trouble for defamation. But the stuff that he has written in text messages verbatim and was read on the witness stand were absolutely disgusting, which I will get into later. So I hope you hang out. My local news outlet didn't say a single thing about him that was negative. Not a single thing. He sounded like this big hero. Oh, the trooper that helped with the investigation was on the stand today, and he spoke about this, this, and this. And all they said was the good stuff. They didn't say anything about his text messages. They didn't say anything about the horrible things that he was calling the defendant and all the awful things that he said. They left all the negative stuff out. So that really, me being a Scorpio, needing to shine the light on the truth, made me go, you're kidding me, right? Like, I've been watching it live, and I know what's being said because I'm watching the actual court feed. Yeah, So we're going to be here for a while, Whitney. So buckle up, girl. I'm just getting started. I'm also on YouTube with this. So if for some reason you can't stick around for the whole video, you can always catch the replay on the YouTube channel because it's the same thing. All right. So my local news, WPRI 12, literally posted on their YouTube channel how great this trooper is. And that's what pushed me over the edge. Like, I've already wanting to talk about this for a while. And I just was like, we need to put aside some time. And then I ended up coming with the idea of pulling cards around things, but we're not going to pull cards tonight. I think that'll be another, because there's so much to talk about tonight. I think I'm going to do that I'm going to start a series of it though, where we start to look at things for fun, total entertainment only, about fun predictions about true crime stuff. Okay, because I do have to be very careful about what I say, because I'm not going to let it come back and bite me legally speaking. But I thought it would be fun to maybe be like, oh, well, let's look at what do the cards say? Like, what does it look like? Not who's the murderer or who did it. We're not going to accuse anybody. We're going to more predict the outcome of the jury. What do we think the verdict is going to be? That's what we're going to look at. So things like that, I think, are going to be really fun. Again, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything because that's not what we're here for, but I'm here to share the facts with you all. And I got my little handy dandy notebook, which isn't enough, but I also actually pulled up a resource that Court TV has on their channel to keep track of everybody. So I'm going to share that as well. But let's get into a super brief summary first of what the Karen Read trial is even about. Very brief, because there's a lot of players to this. There's a lot of elements to this. It's a very detailed situation. But the short version is Karen Read is accused. She's the defendant, and she is accused of murdering her now deceased boyfriend. His name is John O'Keefe. He was a police officer at, I don't know exactly. He's a police officer. I think, hold on, I can see it right here. Hold on. He was 46, a police officer. Do they say where he was in the Boston police he was in the Boston Police Department. Because there's a couple of different police departments here to make sure that I keep it all straight. So he was in the Boston Police Department. Okay. Karen Read is not involved in police at all. She's not a law, anybody, anything. She's just like a regular person who was dating a cop. So she's accused of hitting him with her car. And what's crazy is the defense's case, they're saying that she's being set up, that there's a huge conspiracy. And I hate conspiracy theories. If you guys have ever seen anything I talk about, I absolutely hate conspiracy theories. I'm not a thing about it. I hate them. So the fact that they're saying this and I've been following it, I'm the most skeptical about that stuff because I am a quadruple Scorpio and I need the evidence. Show me the proof that this is what's going on. And I have to say, the more I'm watching, the more I'm believing what the defense is saying. And I'll explain all that. I'm not here to sway you guys either way. I'm going to share what I've observed, what I've learned, and we'll go from there. But she is, what do they call that? She's a civilian. She's not a cop. She's not somebody that is in any kind of first responder. Hey, Kristen. She's not somebody who was in the military. She's a civilian person. Now, everybody else involved in this situation are not civilians. All right. So the short version is on January 29th, 2022. So we're talking 2 years ago. John O'Keefe was found in the snow at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning, that morning, on somebody's property. And this person's property that he was found on are affiliated with the police department. And there's so much more to that. There was a whole party, like there was a lot of stuff that led up to this, but that's the short version. He was missing and people went to go find him, and they found him injured in the snow, freezing to death on this police officer's front yard during a snowstorm, a major snowstorm. So there is a lot of players in here. Like, I literally have a whole list of all the people that are involved or involved by association or all that. And it's a huge chunk of people that are all known to one another from being in the police department, either the Boston Police Department, the Canton Police Department, because this happened in Canton, Massachusetts, which is really close to Boston, the Canton Police Department, the state troopers, they all are like intertwined with each other. Somebody knows somebody, is all connected to each other from this, all right, from the police officers and the police departments and that kind of thing. It's going to be hard to keep track of, so I'm literally, I am going to reference, I am on courttv.com's website right now, looking at the key players in Karen Read murder case to try to sort through it for you guys, just to keep it a little bit more organized. So if you get confused, let me know. But that is the long and short of it. She's accused, Karen Read is accused of hitting John O'Keefe with her car and leaving him to die in the snow on the property of this person, this family, who are police officers that were having a party that night. And she's been accused by this family and all these friends that are all twisted up together. The prosecution is saying that it started as a drunk driving situation, then it turned into a hit and run with drunk driving, and now it's been elevated to, I think, murder too. The defense attorneys' names are Alan Jackson and Mr. Yannetti. I don't remember his last name. Let me see if I can see it on Court TV if they have it. No, maybe. No. We might come across it eventually, but Yannetti is his last name. Then the assistant district attorney, who is the main prosecutor of the case, his name is Lally, Lally. Hold on, I gotta plug my TikTok phone in so that the battery doesn't die on me. And where is the stupid thing? There it is. Okay. So his name is Lally. And as this has been going on, it's very interesting because he doesn't seem like he's really into it, the prosecutor. And the reason why I like watching it with legal analysts, is because these people know the laws and they explain things that if we were just plain watching court TV, you'd have a lot of questions and you wouldn't understand some of what's going on because you might not know all the laws. So I've been watching it with certain streamers, and I'm going to give you guys those people's information as well. So Court TV is the main one, but there's no legal analysts that are happening. It's just Court TV. And Court TV is just streaming gavel to gavel at this trial. There's no commentary or anything like that. The main person that I started watching, her name is Emily D. Baker. She is on YouTube. I'm 100% sure she's not on TikTok. She says she doesn't have one. So there is an entire law community on YouTube. I don't know a ton about TikTok as far as that's concerned because I only came on TikTok to work. So I'm not on TikTok a lot for fun. But there's an entire legal community on YouTube where all these people stream together. And I'm only going to mention a handful of them because they're the ones that I watch the most. But there's more than what I've mentioned, and feel free to comment ones if there's people that you watch. I found out about all of this, the law community on YouTube, back in 2022, I think, when the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation case was going on, because I was fascinated by it and I was going to the gym and a lot, and I was wanting to stream something to keep my mind busy while I was on the elliptical machine. So I started watching it on back then, and the channel I watched back then, which I still like, is called Legal Bites. The word legal, bites is BYTES. Legal Bites. I'm actually going to type it into, I can't really type it on TikTok, but I will type it on YouTube. So if you guys ever want to catch this info, this will be in the replay on YouTube. Legal Bites. LEGALBYTES is the channel. And the girl that runs it, her name's Alita. She is a licensed attorney and in the States. And so she gives a lot of commentary. She also does daily recaps, which I find to be very helpful if you don't want to sit and watch the entire streaming of the court. She will give the recap of it. And I do feel, because I've watched both, her whole stream and the recaps, and she keeps all the facts in. She doesn't get super judgy. I mean, she does mention a little bit of her lawyer opinion, but she doesn't leave pertinent information out. She doesn't skew it or anything. And that's one of the reasons why I like these people that I'm going to mention to you, because none of them hide anything or misrepresent things or anything like that. And they're actually all they're all neurodivergent people, neurospicy, which is probably why I like all of them. They run a very respectable community, all of them. They all have their own little quirky personalities and they're silly about things, but they're also all very good to one another. So it's not like they're going against each other. So Alita at Legal Bites is the first one. She's the first one I ever found. The next one is Runkle at the Bailey. I think that's his thing. Runkle. It's Runkle, but I can't remember. I want to say it's Runkle at the Bailey. He's a Canadian lawyer who is mostly about Runkle of the Bailey. Runkle of the Bailey. Runkle, RUNKLE of the Bailey, BAILEY. He is mostly about gun laws. He's a defense attorney, and he's mostly about gun laws, but I like him because he's funny. There's been some things that he says that just like, he's not careful. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if it hurts somebody's feelings. He doesn't care if people get offended. Doesn't care. He also isn't biased, but he's also funny. If you've ever watched the show Supernatural, his voice and his face remind me of the actor that plays Archangel Gabriel for some reason. It just does. He's not an actor or anything. He's literally a lawyer, but he's a really cool guy because his goal someday is to make enough money just streaming that he can do pro bono work for all cases and never charge again, which I think is such a cool thing. So the last one, there's also one called Law and Lumber, which is probably streaming right now because they stream on Friday nights. They do something called Friday Night Frenzy. So that one's a good one. That one's run by a lawyer named Rob, and Runkle will show up there sometimes with him. And then EDB, which is the main one that I've been watching lately, is Emily D. Baker. And of course, my eye has to start bothering me now. My eyes are so sensitive. And I waited to come on because my eyes have been bothering me with my allergies. And of course, as soon as I'm on here, it's starting to happen, right? Of course. Emily D. Baker. She has the most viewers, but I think she's really funny. She makes me laugh. She makes me laugh a lot because she loves to swear and she just loves to call people out on stuff. And the last one is Aussie something, but they're not a streamer gavel to gavel. It's more like they do reactions. Aussie Insider, AUSS. They do reactions of streamers, of legal streamers. during, like, they'll do clips of them. So they'll show a clip of Runkle, they'll show a clip of Emily, they'll show a clip of this one or that one reacting to things of during the court. So those are the people that I recommend checking out. I've been watching Emily. She also has another channel called Quick Bites where she does like super short recaps of everything. Can you guys hear me okay? I feel like I'm yelling. I should probably talk softer so that my voice can last. I'm going to make sure you guys can hear me all right. I need to go turn on my air conditioner because it's starting to get hot. So do you guys have any questions about any of that right now? Because then we're going to jump into the actual trial. We're on day 25 of the trial. We just finished day 25 of the trial. So we're going to start talking about all that. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to just go turn my air on really quickly, and I'll be back in 1 second. Hold on. Is it bath time, little kitty? Is bath time? Bath time? It's raining. Why didn't you tell me, Cat? Okay. It's raining outside. That's why it's getting humid. So it's getting sticky. All right. So no questions. It doesn't seem like. Okay, cool. Now we're going to talk about the key players right now in this whole situation with the trial. So John O'Keefe is the victim. Karen Reed is the defendant. She's the one that's accused. Now here we go with the next ones. We have Brian. I'm gonna list a bunch of people, and then I'm gonna explain who they all are. We have Brian Albert, Chris Albert, Julie Albert, Colin Albert, Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert Jr., Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe. All of those people are the Alberts. All of them. I just listed a ton of them. They are all the Alberts, and they were all at the party the night that John O'Keefe died. And they are all affiliated with the Boston Police, the Canton Police, or the State Police. Now, there's a few more that I didn't mention. That's the family. There's more than that. There's Brian Higgins, who is a close friend of Brian Albert's. Julie Nagel, who is also a friend. Ryan Nagel, who is a brother of Julie. Elizabeth Proctor, Michael Proctor. Michael Proctor is the lead investigator, and Elizabeth Proctor is his wife. So that's a lot of names, right? It's a lot of people. Literally, Court TV has a tree chart of who is related to who, because it's a lot to keep track of if you don't know who these people are. The thing is, poor Karen, and I am pro-defendant at this point, I do have to say. So this is going to sound a little bit leaning pro-defense, but Karen is the outsider. Canton is a very small a very small world, and Karen grew up not with all these people. So all of these people that are in the investigation, it happened on the property, they're involved in it in one way or another. They all grew up together. They're this tight-knit little crew. And John O'Keefe was friends with them, and now Karen Reed was on the outside, and she's blamed for his death. It'll be interesting to see if she actually was the one or not. I'm leaning towards, even if she was, there's not enough evidence to prove it. I'm not 100% sure if she definitely was or wasn't. I'm not saying either way because I'm still not sure. But we are on day 25. There have been over 50 witnesses that have been called by the prosecution so far, and we still haven't even heard from the medical examiner. We just heard from the lead investigator like 3 days ago. That person is Trooper Proctor. Oh, I thought it was John, but it's Michael. Is it Michael? Michael. Trooper Michael Proctor And he is the one that wrote these terrible text messages. He's a state trooper, because the Canton police, which is where this all happened, recused themselves from doing the investigation because they all knew each other. So they were like, we're not going to investigate it. We know all the Alberts, all these people that I just listed a few minutes ago. We know all of them. We shouldn't be running this investigation. Here, state police, you do it. But isn't it so strange? It was a coincidence, but Michael Proctor knows all these people too. And he's the state police officer. And instead of saying, I know these people, I can't do this, he took on the position, and he is friends with some of the Alberts, which we will get into. But let's talk about who is who. Where this occurred was on the property of Brian and Nicole Albert. All right, they're married. Brian and Nicole Albert's house is where the body was found. They were the ones who had the party on the night of January 28th. But the party didn't start at their place. What happened was they were bar hopping earlier in the evening in the area at local bars, and a bunch of them they went to two different bars, and then they all went back to the Albert's house, Brian and Nicole. So Chris and Julie Albert have a son that is Colin Albert. And then Brian and Nicole have a daughter named Caitlin. And then Jennifer McCabe is the sister of Nicole. And Jennifer is married to Matt McCabe. And Matt McCabe's a police officer. Brian Albert's a police officer. Chris Albert, I think, is a police officer. He is, and he's also friends with the lead investigator, Michael Proctor. Julie Albert is Chris Albert's wife, and she babysits the lead investigator's children. So the lead investigator claimed, which is Michael Proctor, claimed that he didn't know these people. They babysit his kids. He didn't know them. So just that alone skews all of the evidence that's been collected. Now, with that, this is a crazy ass trial, and I'm going to try to go backwards from today backwards, and I'm definitely going to miss some of the facts because there's so much information, and I will probably rewatch what I do here and then go back and add on later another time. But the short and dirty of it is everybody was at this party at the Albert's house. They all were bar hop. Everybody was bar hopping, and they ended up back at the Albert's house. However, and this was around 12:30 at night, the night that's the 28th of January. However, Karen Reed and John O'Keefe never made it inside the house. Everybody else did. At least that's the story. Karen never made it inside. The Alberts are claiming John O'Keefe never made it inside, but there's no evidence one way or the other if he did or if he didn't. What happened was Karen Reed dropped John O'Keefe off because she wasn't feeling well, and she went home. He was walking into the house. He was walking onto the property as she drove away at 12:30 at night. She goes home, and John O'Keefe never comes home. So she starts calling him and calling him and calling him and calling him and calling him to try to find where is he? Where is he? She's calling other people to find where is he. Nobody knew where he was. So she calls her friends, Jennifer McCabe, and there was this other one, somebody Roberts. Let me see if I can find her name. Where is she? Is she on here? No, she's not on here. She calls another friend, somebody Roberts. I'm trying to remember what Robert's name. Do you guys know? Anybody that's watching know? Probably not, huh? Because I'm here to tell you guys about it. Yeah, no, I can't find it, but that's okay. So Kerry Roberts is the other name. That's the other name, Kerry Roberts. So Kerry Roberts and Jennifer McCabe helped Karen Reed look for John O'Keefe. And when they found, so they started driving around trying to find him. And it's a blizzard. It's big snowstorm. It's whiteout conditions. It's hard to see. They finally they're retracing all their steps, trying to find him. And they drive back to the Alberts house, which was on Fairview. It was 34 Fairview or something. They drive back to the Alberts house, and Karen, which is the girlfriend, yells out, "I see him, stop." And she jumps out of the car and she goes and sees his body is on the ground in the snow. And she starts trying to give him CPR to save him. And he's pretty much non-responsive. He's very, very cold. He wasn't wearing a full winter coat, and he was just laying on the ground. And they called paramedics, and all this stuff happened after the fact. He wasn't dead when they found him, but he was basically in hypothermia. And he ended up dying from his injuries. He had internal injuries that were going on. But it wasn't clear how the prosecutions can claim that Karen Reed hit him. And basically what happened was, when they found him, Karen was screaming, "Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Is he dead?" And there's like 75 different versions of what she supposedly said. Now, think about it this way. If you haven't found your significant other, they're missing. You don't know where they are. Even if it's not maybe it's your family member. You don't know where they are. And you find them unresponsive in the snow. And you had been driving at one point. You might be reacting like a crazy person too. Yelling, "Is he dead? Did I hit them?" Like, not knowing what happened. And she was definitely in shock, because at one point, after giving him CPR, she had like blood on her face, because blood, I guess, was coming out of him. And she looked at herself and she asked her friends if she had a period. And they were like, "No, that's not your blood." So there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of chaos. And it turns out, like, the first responders, the EMT, some of the police officers are all linked with this Albert family. As the investigation gets explained and gets going in court, it turns out that Karen Reed's tail light was cracked. And that's where people believe, that's how the prosecution is saying she must have hit John O'Keefe and left him for dead in the snow. There are no eyewitnesses to it. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything, but this is what the prosecution is claiming. They're also piggybacking it with some of the EMT statements, some of the first responder statements. They're all saying, "Well, she said I hit him," or "Is he dead?" She said she thought she did it. When there's a lot of different, it's the telephone game. Some people say she said, "I hit him." Some people say she says, "Did I hit him? Could I have hit him?" Some people are saying that she said he's dead, or is he dead? It's all different people. So if you guys have ever seen the movie My Cousin Vinny, it's kind of like that, because when the kids in the movie got arrested, it's because they were accused of killing somebody in a store. And the reason why they got fully booked and arrested is because they said, "I shot the clerk." I shot the clerk, like, with a question mark. Like, wait, like, I shot the clerk? Like, that's what you're accusing me of? So was Karen Reed saying I hit him? Like, really? Or was she saying I hit him with it. Is it a statement or is it a question? Could go either way, right? So there's that piece of it. And then as things are unfolding, it turns out that everybody knows everybody. All the EMTs happen to be friends with all of the Albert's families. And are they all just throwing Karen under the bus? Did something else happen? One of the sons, Colin Albert, everybody says he wasn't there, but then some people say he was there or he had just been leaving and he's kind of like missing. And there's some suspicion there that there's some doubt that has been put out there by the defense and by interviews about witnesses and testimony and things. Did Colin Albert do this? Did Colin Albert stab, beat, and hit this man? Hit John O'Keefe, the victim. In the meantime, all these the McCabe's and the Alberts and all these people that are their little family have texted each other about it. They've gotten their stories straight. There's evidence of the text messages saying, don't tell them that the guy ever came in the house. Tell them the guy never came. The guy, meaning the victim, who's supposedly their friend. The guy never came in the house. There's all these like unusual parts of, so when there's an investigation going on, when there's any kind of criminal investigation going on, the common sense and standard procedure is to separate the witnesses so they can't get their stories straight and ask them individually, what did you witness? And that is not what happened. So all of these people were together getting their stories straight, talking about it, texting each other. And some of the people that interviewed them were people that were their friends. Why are you helping each other out with the interviews? So that alone is sketchy. And then the evidence collection is very, very, very odd. If you've ever watched anything that is a crime show, a crime story, if you've ever watched anything about evidence collection needs to be collected carefully and with sterile instruments in bagging and evidence bagging and tagging and chain of custody and paperwork needs to be filled out. And there's procedures that need to be done to preserve the evidence so that it doesn't get messed up. And these people, these crime scene people that ended up coming onto the crime scene, which was the Trooper Proctor, because they called in the state police because the Canton Police Department couldn't do it, gathered evidence in red Solo cups that were at the party. They asked the homeowner for containers and they scooped up evidence of blood that was in the snow in 6 Solo cups, literally red Solo cups. There are pictures that are presented in court with the evidence in Solo cups. That is not a sterile collection of evidence. And then they put these Solo cups inside. Hold on. I actually am going to get it because I have one because I live in the area, inside a specific bag. Hold on. Hey, sweet girl. Hi, sweet baby. What you doing? Inside a brown paper Stop and Shop grocery bag, they put open, uncovered, unsealed cups, Solo cups, full of blood evidence in a Stop and Shop bag. That is how they collected the evidence. And I'm not making that up. There's pictures of it. There's testimony of it. There's and the excuse is, well, we've never processed a crime scene in the snow before. You live in Massachusetts. We have snow for months every year. And these are all supposedly experienced crime scene people. So there's that. And then on top of that, they are saying that they, because it was a snowstorm, they didn't want to risk going to the police station to get evidence bags The police station's a mile away. That's really, if you live in Massachusetts in a snowstorm, it's really not a big deal to go a mile. Even if it's a snowstorm, it's really not to go a mile and come back. No, instead, they collected the evidence in Solo cups, some of the evidence in Solo cups. That alone is a gigantic red flag. And then I feel like I'm the dude, where's your car? Wait, I should look that up. Let's see if I can make that a soundbite for myself. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm the lady from Dude, Where's Your Car? Do you guys know what that is? Have you ever heard that soundbite? Let me see if I can find it on my laptop. Where's my car? No, I haven't seen that movie in so long. And then here it is. I don't know how long it's going to be. And then commercial. Oh. So they go to a Chinese restaurant in the movie, and they're placing an order. It's a drive-through. And they're placing an order in the drive-through, and the Chinese lady goes, and then... Oh, you can't hear it that good. Shoot. No and then. No and then. I don't know if you guys can hear it. And then... Anyway, it's stupid. It's funny. It's stupid. Whatever. So after that, Karen Reed also gets sent to the hospital, not because she was injured, but because they put a psych hold on her, a legal psych hold on her, because she was saying she wanted to kill herself. But she was in shock. She wasn't actually going to kill herself, she says, and she never even tried. But they sent her for a psych eval. And while she was at the hospital, they did a blood alcohol test on her. And I can't remember the numbers, but she was above the legal limit. However, as the trial has been going on, it has come out that she has MS, and she also has Crohn's disease, which can very deeply affect your alcohol level of how your body processes it. And none of the witnesses have ever said that she seems drunk. Nobody's ever said that she seems drunk. So there's that also. So there's all that. And then after the hospital, Karen went home to her parents' house. And while she was at her parents' house, Trooper Proctor, which ended up being the guy that got assigned to the investigation, went to her parents' house, confiscated her cell phone and her car, and took her car to be towed to the Canton Police Department garage, which is called Sallyport, the Sallyport Garage. And there's a lot of pieces about this that are crazy, because when they brought it to the garage, it traveled from Dayton, Massachusetts to Canton, Massachusetts, which is about a 40-minute drive in a storm, in the snow, in the wind, being towed. But yet it got there, and when the crime scene specialist processed it, there was still a hair on the back of the truck, on the back of the SUV. There was still a hair sticking to it with the snow and the wind and the rain, which is very strange. And there was also glass pieces not embedded, but sitting on the bumper, the bumper of the rear of her car, which is also very odd. So some of the theory is that was planted evidence. There also was no pictures of her taillight being completely destroyed, because they claim that that's what it was. And when the crime scene specialist processed the crime scene that morning on the 29th, they didn't find any taillight fragments. They also used a leaf blower to blow the snow away to try to find fragments of things. And evidence continued to be collected. So this happened on the 29th of January. These officers continued to drive by that house on Fairview Road and check the scene on a regular basis to see if there was any more evidence. So evidence was collected on February 2nd, February 10th. Like the evidence, it was very strange that they continued to find evidence and big pieces of tail light all of a sudden, which is odd. And so there's suspicion there as well about like, how did that happen? Why did that happen? Was that planted evidence as well? How could that have possibly ended up that way? And this is all stuff that's being presented in court. Also, the people that analyzed the solo cup blood at the lab, the crime analysts, only swabbed one cup with one swab. There were 6 cups. Swabbed one. Why would you swab one? Same thing with something else. They only used one swab, the same swab over and over, which if you've watched any single crime show ever, you don't do that. Like even TV tells you not to do that. That's cross-contamination. Why would you do that? So there was a lot of issues with the evidence, a lot of issues with how it was found, how it was processed, how the lab worked with it. There was also evidence that just sat for months before it was actually sent to a lab, and there was no actual report of chain of custody of where this evidence was from the time that it was found to the time that it ended up at the lab. Where was it for 6 weeks? There's a lot of this going, and this is being shown in trial by the prosecution, the side that's supposed to be proving that Karen Read is guilty. But most of the time, they're proving that evidence was mishandled, and they're adding a ton of doubt. Was Karen guilty? Is Karen guilty? I literally don't know, but there's not enough evidence. One of the things I really like about this Emily D. Baker is she used to be a prosecutor for 15 years or something in LA. So she knows the laws, and she knows the laws of what it's like to be a prosecutor and to be a defense attorney. And the prosecution, as Emily has said during her live streams, bears the burden of proof. If you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So if you're being prosecuted for something, the prosecution needs to show enough evidence to convict you. And as of right now, the prosecution still has yet to show any really, really solid type evidence about this, that it's her fault. Still, we're 25 days into trial. So then, with all of that being said, there's a couple other key players that are very strange. There's this one guy called Brian Higgins, who was an ATF agent, and I can't remember what day he was on the stand. This was a while back now. Let me see if it says it on Court TV. No. So Brian Higgins is an agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, who has an office at the Sallyport Canton Police Department where Karen Read's vehicle was being held. Also where all of the evidence was being held and not properly labeled and not properly tracked. Kind of strange, right? He happened to be at one of the bars that night and did end up going to the after party with everybody at the Alberts. Now, the interesting thing is 2 weeks before this occurrence, Karen Read kissed him. And there was a lot of like texting back and forth and flirty stuff. And she was trying to he was trying to get her to flat out say that she wanted to hook up with him or she wanted him. There was a lot of weird back and we saw all the texts. Like, this isn't hearsay or anything. It was literally on screen for the jury to see, for the court to see. So there was a lot of back and forth with Karen Read and Brian Higgins. It was very clear that Brian Higgins was interested in her, that he felt a little weird because John O'Keefe was Brian Higgins' friend and that she's with John O'Keefe. And there was just like some of the things that she said, they weren't that bad. It was kind of like, we're not married, we got into a fight, like it's fine, just stuff like that. And it did get to a point of where she started ignoring him. She kind of ghosted him. And he did seem like kind of like this desperate guy, at least in his text messages. And so his testimony was kind of very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Now, he's an ATF agent. He has an office at the Canton Police Department. He wanted Karen Reed. He didn't get Karen Reed. And then suddenly John O'Keefe is dead. Did Brian Higgins have anything to do with that? Maybe. In fact, he was at the bar the night that everybody went out, and Karen didn't even say hi to him or acknowledge him. Was he kind of spiteful? Maybe. Don't know. Another player that could be a piece of it. But he definitely had access to the investigators. He had access to the evidence. He had access to everything. Turns out he is now officially on administrative leave from the ATF because he was an undercover agent, and now his cover is blown because he's all over the internet. So there's that as well. Also, Brian Higgins and Brian Albert called each other at 2 a.m. the night of the murder, the night of John O'Keefe's death, when everybody was home and nobody knew this had happened yet. They called each other at 2 a.m. for a few seconds, and both of them claimed that they butt dialed the other, both of them. And they both got rid of their phones. So the prosecution, the defense, nobody can subpoena their information because it's gone. And one of the reasons why Brian Higgins, the ATF agent, is now on leave is he used federal property from his FBI friend to extract information from his old cell phone before he got rid of it. And he got rid of it on a military base. He cut up the SIM card, he destroyed the phone, and he got rid of it, which is really freaking sketchy. Why would you do that? And it was when they were investigating things. So there's data that is missing. There's also video that is completely missing from Ring cameras, from the Sallyport garage. There's gaps of time that seem to have been deleted of evidence of videos that should be there to show, like, here, see, her taillight actually isn't broken, or see, nobody was actually here messing with the vehicle, or whatever. Gone. The evidence is gone. It's non-existent. It's missing. It doesn't exist. So phones have been destroyed. Text messages have been lost. Evidence was collected in Solo cups and in grocery bags. People know each other. They're texting each other about things that they shouldn't be texting each other about. The lead investigator has his children babysat by one of the family members of the homeowners of where this guy died. It's all crazy and it's all twisted together. And so there's enough, in my opinion, reasonable doubt to say that there isn't, they can't convict her. In the meantime, and again, I'm not saying she's not guilty. What I am saying is they haven't proven that she is, in my opinion. In the meantime, this judge had promised the jurors that court would last a total of 8 weeks, and we're almost in week 8. And the defense hasn't even started their case yet because the prosecution has called so many witnesses, and some were completely unnecessary. And the prosecution also drags it out, asking questions like, where were you standing? What were you drinking at this bar? What time did you get there? What was everybody wearing? Like, stuff that it isn't relevant. A lot of it is not relevant to the investigation and not necessary. And to ask, he brought in somebody to confirm an official weather report to prove that it was snowing. He asked everybody what the weather was like. It was snowing. Nobody has debated that it was snowing. It was snowing. We can see that it was snowing. The cameras show that it was snowing. The evidence shows that it was snowing. There has not been one person that has said it wasn't snowing. So wasting precious time talking about that bringing in witnesses to talk about that is a little bit unnecessary. So there's that as well. So he put off the biggest witness. So Brian Higgins was a big one because of the text messages that were all spicy. And he's also on leave because he wasn't supposed to use the FBI equipment for personal gain, and he did. So there's that as well. That's a big one. And then the Jen McCabe was a big one. She was like Mean Girls. She was so mean. She also Googled how long to fall asleep in the snow, how long to die of exposure in the cold or something, or how long to die in the snow on her phone multiple times. And she deleted one of the search histories. At least that's what they're saying. There's a lot of confusion around that, whether that was true or not, but she was very, very aggressive towards the defense attorney when he was questioning her. So, and it was very clear that she doesn't like Karen Reed, and she even called Karen Reed a babysitter with benefits and not somebody that John O'Keefe actually cared about. So there's that. And I'm trying to think what else. Okay, Mike, why do I want to call him John Proctor? You know what? I bet John Proctor is a name from the Crucible, from the witch trials. And I wonder if that's why I keep wanting to say that. Yep. Salem witch trials. Isn't that wild? That's why I want to keep saying it, because I used to teach. I taught high school English for a while in special ed English, and we read the Crucible a bunch of times. And I've also been to Salem several times now, and because Salem is not far from me, and so the history of Salem, I'm very, very intertwined with that. So I think that's why I keep wanting to call him John, because there's a John O'Keefe, and then there's a Proctor, but he's not John Proctor, he's Michael Proctor. But I keep slipping and saying John because John Proctor was a lead character in the actual Salem witch trials Crucible situation. I have to readjust my angling because my neck is hurting from looking up at my TikTok camera. Okay. So here's the way that the rest of this is going to go. Proctor was finally called about 2 days ago on the stand. And this is what really triggered me to want to talk about it, because my local news, like I said at the very beginning of this video, my local news station reported that he was like this big hero when he, in my opinion, is a scumbag. Now, did he do a terrible job? That remains to be seen, probably. But the things that he texted people about Karen Reed. Hold on. TikTok puzzle of doom. Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm here, TikTok. Don't go away on me. Okay. I'm definitely leaving out a lot of witnesses because there were 50 witnesses. I'm not talking about every single witness, by the way, because I just can't. I'm just talking about the ones that stuck out to me the most. So Michael Proctor was on the stand probably 2 or 3 days ago. He was the lead and is still, he said on the stand, is still the lead investigator of this crime. He is a Massachusetts state trooper. His partner, oh yeah, where is he? Is he listed in here? He's not listed in here. What was his name? Oh, so his partner and like boss, his name is Trooper. Oh God. It starts with a B. Bukake. So people have said have made jokes and accidentally called him Trooper Bukaki. It's not his name, but it's similar to that in spelling. So, but the trooper is like his boss. This guy, Trooper B, is what a lot of people have been calling him just to make it easier because his name is hard to say. He was on the stand before Proctor, And he was explaining that Proctor was randomly assigned to this investigation. He happened to be on call, and that was just a coincidence, which really isn't a big deal. However, there hasn't been proper evidence collection. There hasn't been proper followings of things, and that's kind of bizarre. So with that said, Karen's defense attorney says that there's conflicts of interest with Proctor because Proctor and the McCabe's and the Alberts are all really good friends, and there's a bias there. There's lots of Facebook pictures that have come forward to show that they're friends, to prove, like, hi, Nat girl, to prove that, or Natty girl, I can't see, I'm blind, to prove that there's been a lie there. There's more recent pictures on Facebook within the last 2 years, 3 years before this investigation, before this crime happened, that Proctor's family lawyer, Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Julie Albert, Chris's wife, was friendly with Proctor's sister, and Proctor's sister invited Julie and her young son to their wedding. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Colin Albert was in John Proctor's wedding. It's very strange because why? How would that be the case? So while Proctor was on the stand, his cell phone messages were brought to question. And so Proctor is the lead investigator. He is the person who's in charge of finding the proper person who caused this crime. And his text messages, 16 hours after they found John O'Keefe's body. 16 hours. The investigation hasn't even really fully started yet because of the snow. People had to shovel out by the time they got to the crime scene. They had barely even collected any evidence yet. Proctor is texting his buddies from high school about Karen Reed and talking terrible about her, saying that she's a crazy, what did they call that? What did they say? What did he say she was? Why can't I think of what he called her? He called her a see you next Tuesday. He said that she was going to be going down for it. He said that she'd be tried. One of the people said, oh, the guy, he was found on the lawn of of a person's property. Oh, that homeowner's going to get some stuff. And Proctor was like, nope, he won't, because he's a cop too. So he's all set. They're not questioning him. They never decided to investigate the house of the Alberts. They never searched the house. They never went into the house. They never looked at the house to see if there was any kind of evidence that there was some kind of a struggle or some kind of an issue that started maybe in the Alberts home and then ended up on the lawn. Proctor also called her an R word. I don't like to use that word. An tard word. And he also made fun of the defense's, one of the defense's lawyers, named Yannetti, said that he couldn't stand him or something. He was looking through Karen Reed's phone, looking for nudes, and he literally was texting his pals about it. No nudes yet, searching her phone, no nudes yet. He was talking about her physical body. One of them had asked if she was hot, and he was like, she's all right. She's got a weird Fall River accent and no ass. Talking about her physical features. Talking about her butthole. I'm not kidding you guys. He used a phrase that I am not going to use because I don't want you guys to have to Google it because it was absolutely disgusting. But it was a phrase I had never heard of before. And everybody I mentioned it to, I was like, what is that? And I Googled it and was like, oh God, that's horrible. So he was making fun of her butt, like literally her butthole, because she has Crohn's, and said some really terrible things about her and her butt being leaky and how much she stinks. Just awful. And this is all about the defendant. He texted all these things. He also said he hopes she kills herself, all on text message to people. Now, if you guys do not know the way that any kind of criminal thing should be going, the lead investigator shouldn't be writing things about the investigation to anybody, except for maybe his superiors or his team. And he absolutely should not be commenting about how he physically thinks of somebody. He shouldn't be commenting about their mental. Oh, called her a whack job. The whack job. That's the word that I was looking for. Whack job. The whack job's going to go down. He never once investigated a single other person. 16 hours in, he already decided she was guilty. And there wasn't even extreme evidence. There was no eyewitness. There was no real proof that she was the one who did it, except for things that some of the people in the Albert family have said, and so what some of the first responders said, but they were part of the Albert family in one way or another, 6 degrees of separation. And this trooper is part of the Albert family too, in some way or form. So the entire deck is stacked against her. And I feel bad for her. I do. I feel bad for her. I feel bad for her family. Again, I don't know if she's guilty or not. I'm not saying she is or she isn't, but in our country, we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And it's so very obvious with all of this stuff that's been said on the witness stands and how poorly the evidence has been mishandled, that the investigators didn't care about doing a proper job, and they just were trying to they automatically, it was her fault, even though there was no clear evidence that it was 100% her fault. They never looked at a single other person. Never. They didn't question a single other person about it. They never suspected that it was somebody else. They didn't even consider it. They even said it on the stand. Why would we go into that house? So there's a lot of shady stuff going on there. A lot. Maybe it was somebody else. If I was a juror, I would have questions. I have questions and I'm not a juror. Now, for those of you who don't know the Rhode Island, Massachusetts type of culture, this is very normal for our area, and the whole world can see it now. I have always, and this is another reason why I want to speak about this, I am not a conspiracy theory person. You guys know that I'm not, but I have always witnessed law enforcement in this area taking care of their own. I have personally witnessed this. And this is just the epitome of it all. And every single person, all of the Alberts, the McCabe's, all of those people were drunk driving. Brian Higgins must have had 8 scotches, he said. None of them are going to have any kind of repercussions about that. None of them. Because they all are police officers, and that is normal in our area. It's disgusting. It is police officer privilege. Am I anti-police? No. I know some very wonderful police officers, actually. But the general culture here is they are above the law. And it's terrible. And I'm not going to go too deeply into it, but I was in a relationship with a serious relationship, not just like some friends with benefits thing, a correctional officer for quite a while, a Rhode Island correctional officer. And the stuff that I witnessed even then was, yeah, they really do take care of their own. We'll just put it that way. Because there was some law breaking, and there was some sweeping it under the rug, and the poor person that was the victim never saw justice. So now it's front and center for the world to see. And then on top of that, our news channel in Rhode Island is also downplaying. They didn't say one single negative thing about this Proctor guy. Nothing. all the horrendous things he said, making fun of the defendant, saying that she was going to go down, she should kill herself. Don't worry about the guy, the Albert, who's the body was found on his property because he's a cop. He didn't do anything wrong. He won't get in any kind of trouble. A lot of things, a lot of horrible things. I'm trying to think what else recently happened that was upsetting. Oh, so Brian Albert. No, hold on. Not Brian Albert. There's another one. Kevin Albert, who isn't in the original group that I mentioned. He is also a police officer. And Trooper Proctor, there was also evidence of texts back and forth between Trooper Proctor and this Kevin Albert. They had gone to the Cape together on some kind of work thing that wasn't related to this case and got drunk together. At least Kevin Albert got drunk. They were in Trooper Proctor's cruiser, drove back home, and the next day were texting about how hungover they were. And Kevin Albert didn't know where his badge and gun were. They were still in Trooper Proctor's cruiser that he drove while drinking. They got so drunk he couldn't find his gun or his badge. But yet, Trooper Proctor doesn't know any of the Alberts, and there's no conflict of interest there. So it's crazy. It's crazy. There's also been some major unprofessionalism on the side of the DA. Maybe I shouldn't say that. There's been some questionable decisions on the side of the DA. Change that. So that is a thing as well. So this whole journey, we are now on day 25. We ended day 25 today. Again, I recommend you guys check out Emily D. Baker, Court TV, Runkle of the Bailey, Legal Bites, Law and Lumber. I don't know any of these people personally. They're just, I value their insight and their input. They all have different opinions and different points of view. Runkle of the Bailey, I happened to be watching one day because both Emily and Legal Bites had to be off one day for streaming for some reason. So I watched Runkle, and it was the day with the butt dials, and he was like, everybody in Canton, Massachusetts has an asshole that's pretty, what did he say? Everybody's asshole is calling each other's asshole or something. It was so funny. I laughed so hard because it's true. He goes, everybody's an asshole in Canton, Massachusetts, and they're all calling each other's asshole. It was the funniest thing in the world because literally one of the guys claimed that he butt dialed with his phone while his phone was in his bed and he was having sex with his wife. What? Have you guys ever had sex with a phone in your bed? Have you ever had sex with the phone in your bed accidentally and then called somebody? What? Like every day there's something. Every day there's something that just makes me go, how is this not a TV show? How is this real life? And not only how is this real life, but it's real life and it's an hour away from me. All of this stuff happened an hour away from me. And so I was really irritated with my local news station because Karen Reed could come right over the border without a problem into Providence, and people could treat her terribly because my local news station made her look like a horrible person and made the lead investigator look like a hero. So that's where I'm at about this. We're on the break for the weekend, and then Monday court starts up again. I have some summaries that I have to watch because there's some things that I've missed that I've fallen behind in, but it's just been mind-blowing, and it has been driving me absolutely crazy. I needed to talk about it somewhere, and I realized I could share with you guys on it. Again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm literally just sharing with what was already shown on TV, all right, or on live stream or in the court. I am not saying Karen is guilty or not guilty. I'm not saying that she was definitely framed. It's not clear if she was framed for sure. There's no true texts or messages about, oh, let's set her up. However, it looks real suspicious. Something is fishy about this whole thing, and at the end of the day, because so much stuff was done unprofessionally, really, then how can they really prove that she's guilty? There's still yet to be proof that she's definitely guilty. I'm still waiting to see. I don't know if we'll ever get there. As far as, there was something else I wanted to say. Shoot. Of course, I can't think of it. I lost it. Maybe it'll come back. So Emily was saying it is the prosecution's burden to prove the guilt. It is the prosecution's burden to prove with the evidence what happened with this crime. Why are we accusing this individual of this crime? And the interesting thing is, and one of the reasons why I really like watching Emily, is she has explained on her channel that during her live streams that the prosecution does not have to prosecute. They literally can choose not to. And normally a prosecutor for a murder has been a prosecutor for a while. They're not just like this brand new person that's never prosecuted a case before. Murder prosecutors have been a practicing prosecutor for a good amount of time. Hey Christine, how are you? Have some serious experience behind them. So they also can say yes or no to prosecuting a case. They're the ones that are supposed to make the decision and stand up to their bosses and say, we're not going to be able to prove this, or this is tainted evidence and I'm not going to take this to court, or whatever. The prosecutors are the ones that make that choice. So this prosecutor, this is one of the things that a lot of the people on Emily's channel have been asking, is they are theorizing, theoretically hypothesizing, that this prosecutor doesn't want to be there. And because he's not super prepared for some things, he sounds really annoyed. His focus is all over the place. I'm great, thank you. So he sighs a lot. Objection. He's always sighing. It's very odd. It's very strange. And it does look like he just doesn't care. And at least from Emily's point of view, she says, how can you choose to take this to trial when your lead investigator has messed up so much evidence, and you know this, and this is going to be presented? They're making the defense's case for them. The defense hasn't even done anything yet, and I already think that they're not guilty. The prosecution isn't even done, and I already think the defense person isn't guilty. So it's very, very strange. But that's pretty much my hot take on that. It's only I summarized that pretty good in an hour and a half. That's pretty solid for me, considering I've just been so wound up about it that it's still in my head for the most part. There's definitely details I left out. Oh, sorry. The one other thing I wanted to share with you guys, what case are we talking about? The Karen Reed, John O'Keefe trial. I actually just went on for an hour and a half about it. But if you want to watch what I said, because I'm not gonna repeat it, but feel free to check it out on my YouTube, because my YouTube's recording right underneath this, so you can catch it on the replay on the YouTube channel. The saddest part of all of it, from the terrible investigation to the horrible friends who obviously don't, Karen Reed thought they were her friends and they're not, to somebody actually being deceased and his family's there in court every day watching the lead investigator say some of the things that they've said, which is disgusting, and not take the case seriously, obviously. They they, meaning the biggest victim in my opinion, are two children. And I actually don't know if they've even said their names because they're minors. I don't think they've ever said their names. And they need to be protected. So I'm not like trying to find out what their names are. I absolutely believe these poor kids. So John O'Keefe was raising his children, his sister's children. So 2 years before all this happened, so in 2020, there was, and I'm not sure what happened. If any of you guys know, feel free to say it. I don't know if it's on here. Let me see. It probably isn't, because this is about the trial. This isn't about John O'Keefe's backstory. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't say. So John O'Keefe had a sister and a brother-in-law who had children, and they died. The sister and brother-in-law died several years before John O'Keefe died. So I want to say in 2020, maybe 2019. I'm not exactly sure the date, but they had some kind of accident where they both died. And I'm not sure what the accident is. I'm sure if I went back and watched everything, because I started watching this trial probably on day like 13, it caught my attention that I realized people were streaming it. So I wasn't watching it from the very beginning. So there's some details I don't completely have clear. But John O'Keefe's sister and brother-in-law died in some kind of accident at the same time, leaving their children. And John O'Keefe became the custodian for the children. He became their guardian. So he was raising his sister's kids. And now, so these poor kids lost their parents several years back and was being raised by their uncle, who then got killed. Like, this poor family, the O'Keefe family, has been through so much tragedy. My heart goes out for them. I also feel bad for Karen Read, because if she genuinely isn't guilty and she went through all this trauma of losing her boyfriend that she had been with for years, that she'd been staying with most nights, like they didn't officially live together, but she was with him a lot, trying to give him life-saving measures, trying to save him, seeing him dying in front of you, and being blamed for it. I can't even imagine, especially if she's not guilty. I don't know if she is. I don't know if she isn't. I don't know. And I'm not going to make that call. That's the jury's job. Oh, but another thing is, because the trial has been going, a jury got excused today. A jury member got excused today, and I'm not sure what happened about that. I haven't heard all the details about it. Maybe it's in the news right now. I'm not sure. But there's that as well. And a jury member left earlier this week too. They didn't get excused. They left. They couldn't. So apparently, another thing that I didn't know that Emily D. Baker explained is that the jury started out with 17 jurors, I believe. And there's a reason why there's alternate jurors, because as the trial goes on, things happen and jurors have to drop out. Like, a lot of times it could be a family member is really sick, or they get sick, or there's something with their job that they have to return to, or there's some kind of emergency or whatever. And the longer the trial goes, the more likely it is for jurors to start to drop out. And if too many, if they get down to only 11 jurors are left, 11, that's 11. If they get down to only 11 jurors left, then it's an automatic mistrial and they have to start all over again, which would be interesting because the prosecution has not seemed properly prepared for some of the things that they have brought forward. So I kind of hope they don't get a mistrial, because then it feels like the prosecution could get their ducks in a row, and that it wouldn't be the same type of trial as it is right now. So I really hope that doesn't happen. But the prosecution hasn't even finished their case. And this is very unusual, according to a lot of the legal analysts I've been following, to get 7 weeks, 8 weeks into trial, and the prosecution is still calling witnesses and is still yet to call a medical examiner. We still haven't seen a proper picture of behind the defendant's vehicle, which is where they're claiming was how she hit him, was with the taillight. I mean, there's just a lot. And right now, that they ended the court today. There's an analyst on the stand. I don't even remember what his name was, but he was a crime scene reconstruction guy. He was like a professional at reconstructing the crime scene. And he was basically saying on the stand that there is no way that Karen Reed's broken taillight happened by her hitting John O'Keefe. That the stats of her car are very obvious that with all the crime scene reconstruction experience he has, she hit him. That's what this guy is saying. It's from a pedestrian accident. Now they went into voir dire, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically the witness being asked questions by the defense and by the prosecution, getting all the information in front of the judge, not the jury. And then the judge decides what's dismissible, like what can be brought in and what can't be. And so that was happening today with this witness at the end of trial today. And it was clearly explained that he didn't measure anything. He didn't take. So the physical evidence that they're saying is the cause of all this is Karen Reed's passenger rear taillight was smashed and all the pieces were in the found in the snow, but they weren't found in the snow until days and days and days and days later. And the tow truck driver said her taillight was only cracked. So there's different witnesses saying different things, and there's no actual photo of the evidence of her taillight being smashed on the day. And there is a ring video of her backing out of John O'Keefe's garage. Remember, he didn't go home. So at January 29th in the morning, the party was the 28th. So the morning, 5 a.m., she's backing out of the garage. There's a ring light on the house, and it's like of the driveway. And she's coming out of the garage, and she backs up, and his car is over here, and she backs right into. She clearly taps his car, because when they zoom in on the video, you can see the tire that's here on his car move just a little bit. So there was something that made the tire move. So she taps the car. Nothing falls into the snow from what you can see, and there's no dent on his car, but she taps it, and then she goes along. And that's what the defense is saying is how she broke the taillight, at least a bit. And that, supposedly these corrupt investigators did something more to the taillight to cause this. But this witness today, the crime scene reconstructioner guy, and I don't know his name. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know his name off the top of my head. He said that there was no way that the taillight broken was from her tapping that she didn't tap John O'Keefe's vehicle that was parked. It didn't happen. And so the defense attorney asked, how do you know that? And so they kind of went back and forth about the statistics and the math and all that, the physics of it all. And this witness was saying, and this is when the jury was not in the room, so the judge is deciding if this is admissible or not. The witness was saying, I know that because of my experience. And there was no damage on John O'Keefe's car at all. So I would have seen that. And so then the defense attorney gets into a whole thing about, but there's a bumper, and what if the taillights connected to, like, what if they lined up and she bumped into the taillight? And according to the crime scene reconstruction guy, That's impossible because the bumpers there's no damage on the bumpers, and there would have been some kind of sign. She would have had to push the bumper in on one of the cars, her car or his car, would have had to have the bumper pushed in to hit tail light to tail light. That's what the crime scene reconstructionist guy is saying. Well, the defense attorney asked him, did you line the vehicles up back by back to see? Did you measure to see if their tail lights, if that was possible, that she could actually break her tail light by hitting his car without showing evidence? Because if something in his car was sticking out and her tail light hit it, it could break the tail light, right? And the guy was like, no. And the defense was like, did you measure this? Did you measure that? Did you line them up? Did you see if they aligned? Did you see what did it? No, I didn't do that because I know. No, I didn't do that because I know. It was just because I know. No, because I know. So that's going to be interesting how that's going to be received with the jury. And that's pretty much the whole story about the John O'Keefe, Karen Reed thing up to date. Anyway, I don't know when the trial is going to end. The judge had told the jurors it would end by the end of June. It's June 14th. By the time Monday comes, it is June 17th. There is no court on the 19th because it is a federal holiday called Juneteenth. And the defense hasn't even begun their case. And then there's closing statements after the defense does their case. So I don't know about that. Don't know. But I really hope that it doesn't end up getting to a mistrial because that would really suck. So what do you guys think? And if you're watching it on the replay, definitely talk about it in the comments. I know this was totally out of like my normal videos, but I have always been fascinated with true crime, and I needed to talk about it somewhere. And I know that some of you guys feel the same about true crime. So I thought it would be fun. Again, I'm not a legal person at all. It's just a hobby of interest of mine. I do not know anything about legal advice. I just watched TV shows and read things and documentaries and things like that. And I follow these legal analysts who I highly recommend. Again, I recommend Court TV as your main streamer if you don't want to watch somebody commenting on it. Emily D. Baker, Runkle of the Bailey, Legal Bites, Law and Lumber, and The Lawyer You Know are all really great people that don't put they put their opinion, but they don't try to influence their audience. They say, that's what I think, but the jury's the one who has to decide. What do you guys think? Like, they don't try to force you to form your own opinions. It's more like they just tell you their point of view based on their legal experiences. So I think that's really cool. The other thing that I do want to talk about, and I'm not going to talk about it tonight because I am getting tired, but there is, with me being fascinated with all of this, Emily D. Baker has recently, and I'm going to find it because I want to say it correctly to you guys, posted a live on her channel about a TikTok psychic. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. TikTok psychic defamation case. Emily started talking about it. So apparently, and I haven't watched the whole thing. So there's definitely details that I am not aware of here. But apparently a psychic on TikTok, I don't know how popular she was. I really don't go to other people's pages on TikTok. I do social media for work. So when I'm not on social media, so when I'm not working for social media, I'm watching something like crime TV rather than more tarot readings. Like, I just can't do that. That's my job and I love it. But like when I'm decompressing, that's not how I decompress. I decompress with something totally unrelated. But apparently this is where true crime and my psychic tarot intuitive world are now crisscrossing. I guess there was, I don't know if she's still on TikTok, a psychic on TikTok that decided to do readings or decided to make statements about a case, a murder case that happened in Idaho. And I don't know where this TikTok psychic was located, but it definitely wasn't Idaho. It was in the States, but I'm not sure where. And she decided to pull cards. I don't think she pulled cards on camera. She pulled cards on her own time and came to TikTok with her results. And she accused this homicide that happened. I don't know all the details yet because, again, I just found out about this and I've been so focused on the Karen Reed trial. But apparently there was a homicide that happened in Idaho on a college campus or about a college campus with students. There was 4 people that died. I believe they were all students, and somehow they're connected to a professor that, like, all in this same university. Again, I have no idea all the details. I don't even know the people's names. Like, there's a lot I don't know right now because I haven't researched enough. But what caught my eye was this specific TikToker came on TikTok, made lots of content saying her cards told her that this professor is guilty. This professor did it. This professor did X, Y, and Z. I believe she said that the professor had some kind of an affair with one of the students. And now I think this is what she said. So, and this is in a court report. All right. So I'm just stating facts that I have heard from the court. I'm not making accusations, but this is what this TikToker is accused of saying, that this professor had an affair with one of her students and then hired somebody to kill the student and other students by association to cover it all up. And that this professor is guilty of those 4 murders. That's what I know of as what this TikToker has claimed. And I do want to say allegedly, but I think it's okay to say that she said these things because they're in a court report. The TikToker said these things. I'm not saying that the professor had anything to do with it. I don't believe the professor had anything. I don't know anything about it. So I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. In fact, from my understanding, there was actually a local press conference with the local police that said this professor is not a suspect in this situation. She's been ruled out, blah, 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 cleared her name. But this TikToker still insisted that the professor was guilty. This is all in court reports. And what, I guess, as this was happening, this TikToker kept just talking shit, saying that her guides told her she's connected to God and all these things that she was saying. Again, I'm not sure all the stuff that she said, but she ran her mouth a lot. She did over 100 videos of content about this. And she also, I believe, had a YouTube as well. And eventually the professor sent her a cease and desist order from her lawyer. And this TikToker took this cease and desist and then made a lot more content talking shit about it. I have no idea who this TikToker is. But apparently she thought she was untouchable for some reason and challenged the professor and the government, saying that she could say what she said because it's the truth, and that if there was any legal grounds, they would have been coming for her already. So she's not going to stop publishing what she says. She's going to keep saying these things because it's the truth. I don't know much more besides that, but she ended up in court. And I do believe she represented herself in court. And her argument was she's not guilty because it's the truth. And something about her sharing skin with God, I don't quite remember what was said. I have to go back and rewatch all of this. I have to go back and really dig into all this information about this specific thing. But the case hasn't even started yet. This was just like the filing in court. So there hasn't even, I don't know if there's going to end up being a whole trial or not. I don't know if this person's going to elevate it. From what it sounds like, she's going to continue to stand on what she's saying, which is she is saying the truth, and nobody can, that's not defamation because it is the truth. Whether the thing elevates to court to an actual trial, I don't know, but I definitely want to go back and look into all of this information because it's amazing to me that that would happen, but I'm not surprised at the same time. I have a lot of people that come to me over time on my channel about other readers that might be scamming or might be faking or might be doing things like this. I actually had one person ask me at one point, and I don't remember who it was, so I am sorry for not saying who you are because I honestly don't remember. But one of my viewers had asked me something about if a reader says it's for entertainment purposes only, does that mean they are a fake reader? And the answer to that is no. That does not automatically make somebody a fake reader. What it does is it's a legal protection because it is not our responsibility for what decisions you make with our readings. Because there are crazy people out there that will take information given in a reading and do something very dangerous with it. And so it's kind of like a generalized protection legally wise. But there are so many people on the internet that are in this field that are doing a lot of illegal things and or unethical things. There's a lot of scammers. There's a lot of people that just misrepresent themselves, that are fake. This happened a lot in 2020. The 2020 world of lockdown and working from home, a ton of readers popped up across the internet in all different avenues and approaches that could suddenly read cards or could suddenly do pendulum or could suddenly do this or that. And a lot of people just were like, hey, I'm going to do this. Now, some people that started doing it over this time, maybe it really was an honest thing that they had been working on and learning. But you don't just wake up one day and have the ability to professionally read cards for people overnight. It doesn't work that way. You got to work on your craft. You got to work on your skill. Can you read guide words and fake it? Sure. But, and I know I haven't been on TikTok for very long, but I have been on YouTube since 2019. I have been reading professionally since 2013. And I have been practicing divination since 1997. So, yeah. I didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to go on TikTok and be a tarot card reader. It's a skill that I have been working on for decades now. Never was with an intention to become a full-time person. It just ended up, my life took me in that direction. But be careful, vet your readers if you're going to get a reading from somebody. And I'm not saying every reader that just started out is a scam artist, because it's not true either. There are some people that are just learning their gifts now, and that's okay too. But my personal philosophy, and this is how I started doing professional readings, I did over 200 free practice readings on people that I knew before, and real readings. I'm not talking about, oh, let me pull a yes or no card. I'm talking about deep readings that I did on people that I personally knew before I started charging a dime for it, because I didn't want to take people's money until I felt like I was sure about the messages that I was getting, because that's not cool. It comes back to bite you in the ass. it comes back to bite you in the ass. It really does. Also, another recommendation about TikTokers, YouTubers, things like that. Be careful about who goes with the current thing of the day or of the week or of the month. And yeah, it is an advertisement thing. It is a way to keep up with the trends. But a jack of all trades is a master of none. And that's all I'm going to say for that. So people that are constantly changing what kinds of offerings they have, like what kinds of skills they have, or what kinds of things they're selling, if it's not in the same umbrella of what they're doing, because I will offer different kinds of tarot readings. I will offer different kinds of oracle readings, but I'm not going to turn around and sell you a love jar. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do a crystal grid for you. I'm not going to do spell work for you. I'm not going to do Reiki healing for you. I'm not a Reiki person. So be careful about the types of spiritual people who follow trends to the point of where they're always on to the next thing. Like, for instance, when I first got on TikTok, I realized a lot of people are doing the rods where they do this and the rods go back and forth. I bought a set of rods and I couldn't connect with them. I tried because I saw how popular it was and how easy it is to just hold them and they go back and forth. And that's a fast yes or no. You guys have never seen me on here with rods because I don't connect with them. It's not my thing. My thing, cards. It's my thing. Have I bought a fun yes or no pendulum thing that I might do on here for fun? Yeah, for fun, not for money. So I just heard a, but she's asleep. She's asleep on the floor, so I don't know what that was about. All right. So anybody have some input that they'd like to say? What do you guys think? Maybe we should pull a card to see what the jury ends up saying just for fun for today. You know what? Let's pull a card to see if, because there's been some theories out there about if the case gets dismissed once the prosecution is done. I am very curious about if that's going to happen or not. Because once the prosecution is done, the defense for Karen Read can move to have the case dismissed because the prosecution has not met their burden of proof, of evidence. So let's see. I'm just going to pull one, or however many want to come flying out of the deck. This is just for fun. Totally just for fun. But let's see what we get as far as when the prosecution rests their case, if it will even get to the defense. What will happen after the prosecution rests their case? Will the defense be able to get the case dismissed? Let's see. That was a fumble. That wasn't a true card. What will happen after the prosecution? First card is death reversed. I'm going to pull 3. That says no. That tells me no, the case won't be dismissed. But let's see. What happens after the prosecution rests? Page of Swords reversed. And Page of Wands. Well, with the death in the reversal, to me, the death in the reversal talks about staying stuck and not transitioning, not transforming, not moving forward. So this could go either way. This could be saying that the case no longer moves forward because the Page of Swords in the reversal is a lack of information, hidden and not enough information, not enough communication. And the Page of Wands, as the third one, says we move on. So I am actually going to say, especially with these two, this is going to get dismissed. That's my fun entertainment only prediction about the Karen Read trial. Once the prosecution rests their case, there will be no more case. The case is going to not go anywhere. And the defense, it feels like, is going to win a motion for dismissal. We'll see if that happens. We'll see. You heard it here first. We'll see. I've never done anything like this before. I did do, not on a video, but I did pull cards back with the Trump-Biden election to see who was going to win. And I got that it was going to be Biden. I did see that. I did see that Trump wasn't going to win. So that's interesting. One final thing. I am not a political person. If you guys follow me, you know that I'm not. I never talk about politics ever on here because it's just not something I like to get into a big banter about. I don't like to fight about things like that. I believe everybody has their own personal choices and opinions, and I try not to force mine on others. But I did post something today, both on TikTok and YouTube, about a request that if you align with the LGBTQ world, if you're an ally, if you connect with them, if you have loved ones that are part of that world, in honor of my godfather, I asked you guys to watch that video and do what's requested there. My godfather passed away on Thanksgiving this past year, and for lack of a better word, he was kind of a hero to me in many ways. I've never said that about him in that way before, but it's the best way to describe him. He was an advocate. He was an advocate, and he lived life, and he loved hard, and he fought for all marginalized people. It started with people with disabilities, and then it moved into the LGBTQ world because we have family that are members of that world. And why today, Mel? Because today is the wedding anniversary of him and my godmother. And she reached out to me today and asked me to pass the message along in honor of him. So that's what I did. And I have to say, he is the reason why I ended up in special education in the first place, because he was the first person to ever show me that people with special needs are people too. And that was when I was like 3 years old. So yeah, the world lost an amazing man this past year, and it's going to be a long time before I can really be healed from that. But she asked that, and I couldn't say no. So I think I'm going to go, you guys. I'm exhausted. It's been a long night. I need to have some food and relax. Thanks for hanging out. Definitely comment on the channel, comment on the video if you're watching it on the replay. If you liked this, if you want to do more of this, hang out and chat. Like maybe it can be a regular Friday night thing or something. So yeah, just let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to hear what you think about the Karen Reed thing. I'd love to hear what you think about the TikTok thing. And I think that's it. Anybody have anything they want to say? I see 2 people are on YouTube, but I have no idea if 2 people are actually on YouTube because it never shows me the proper numbers. And TikTok, I see that 1 person is watching, but I also don't know if that's right. So I don't see any other chats on YouTube, but I just changed my settings to see. Yeah, no. Okay, I want to make sure I wasn't missing any chats. So what do you guys think? How's your Friday? What do you think about this? Do you think that this was a good thing? This was fun? Or is this something that you'd rather, it was blah? I'm so tired right now all of a sudden. I used all my energy telling the story. Nobody's talking. All right. Well, with that said, then I guess I'm going to go. So TikTok, I will see you guys Monday. I do live streaming tarot readings. We'll be back on Monday around 10:30 EST time in the morning. Okay, TikTok's done. Anybody on YouTube want to say anything before I go? I lost the cat. She disappeared on me. No, nobody's talking. All right, guys, then I'm gonna get going because I'm not gonna hang out to talk to myself. This was fun, and I hope to see you guys soon. And if you're watching the replay, hashtag team replay. See you guys later. Bye for now.